Hello everyone! Today I'm going to answer one of the most frequently asked questions in my channel. What do you do after intermediate books? If you're following my channel for a long time, and if you haven't, please go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification button so you won't miss my videos. You should be familiar with my go-to books for beginners and intermediate levels, and I made those videos for you. But today, I'm finally answering those questions of what to do after those books. What do you do when you're in advanced level? Also, a lot of people ask this question. It took me this long to make this video because it's a rather complicated topic. But today, I'll try to make it as simple as possible and try to give you some examples so you can decide what to do after learning all the basics and gaining enough skills to tackle advanced pieces. Before I start, as always, I want to say a huge thank you to my patron on patreon.com and YouTube members. Your support has been huge help as I try to expand my knowledge and experience through my YouTube activities. And if you're kind enough to support me for $3 or $10 per month, I'll leave the link to my Patreon page in the description. You can also support me directly from YouTube from right here. Alright, let's get into the topic. So the books I use for the students who has completed all the intermediate level books I introduced in this video all depends. Alright, good luck finding the right books for you. Bye bye! No, you know me better than that by now. So, I said all depends because in the beginner level, you've learned how to read notes, how to play the keys properly, how to do certain things, this and that, all the basics you need to start expanding your repertoire into more advanced level. And by the time you finish level 4 of Piano Adventures, you've learned most of the notes that exist in the world and can learn and play a lot of beautiful songs already. But not enough to tackle something really serious like you would hear in a professional pianist concert. So in my curriculum, to fill in that gap between the end of the beginner level to the beginning of the advanced level, we go through hand-on exercises to make your fingers move even faster and more precisely, and do turning exercises so that you can use that technique in more musical settings. And use sonatinas and Bergmutter to learn about lots of musical styles and things to consider for each of those styles. So after going through all of that, you should be ready for a lot of things. There's no more limit to what you can do and what material you can do to learn further. And at this point, you should be really starting to play what you really want to play. You don't take piano lessons so you can play hand-on. I've never seen a student who said, "Oh, I love Czerny so much, that's what I would play if I had free time." No, these are all stepping stones so that you can be a pianist who can handle anything you want to actually play. And now you have learned it. And I said it depends because first of all, what I want to do at this level is start playing the style of music my students really want to. Some students want to play some jazz pieces. If they're really serious about jazz improvisation and everything, then I'm gonna have to send the student to the jazz teacher because I'm not good in that area. But in fact, you don't have to wait until the end of these intermediate books. About halfway through, there's a lot of things that you can play already because intermediate level covers such a wide range. You don't really have to wait until you're done with everything. Like you can play Fourelis about halfway through the intermediate level, Mozart Turkish March, some of the Chopin Nocturnes, waltzes. We can incorporate a lot of outside materials into this level and start stepping into more advanced pieces at this point. And this is a level I really enjoy because I'm done teaching you how to move your fingers. I'm done teaching you how to read notes and rhythms. I'm done with all the basics. Now, most of the things we're going to be talking about in the lesson is how to further your musicality, how to interpret music. I get to discuss with my students what they want to do in music, what they feel, what do you think you should do in these occasions. Those are really fun stuff. And I even get to play concertos with my students. So advanced level is really exciting level. But sometimes for us teachers, I remember as a beginning teacher, it took me a while to figure out what to do, even for intermediate level, but more so for the advanced level, because there's no method book. There's no set curriculum. It really depends. So you have to discuss what your student goal is and what their weakness is. You have to assess. Then you might be able to do some materials that will supplement. And if the students don't really have much opinion in it, then you get to choose what the student might like. There's tons of repertoire you can choose from. But I'm going to introduce some of the things I do with my students at this level so you can have some ideas. So first of all, what I would really want to start at this point is Bach. That's something I haven't really touched through the intermediate level. I mentioned it in this video, I think I mentioned it. I'm sorry if I was wrong. In the most ideal world, Bach should be included in the intermediate level. But because most of the students take only 1 hour lesson, and these 4 books already take that whole hour usually, so I don't usually include Bach. But when my students start getting the feel of the intermediate level, and then if their lessons don't take long anymore, then sometimes I start including Bach within the intermediate level. So whether in the middle of the intermediate level or after when they finish one of those books, I start introducing this, first lessons in Bach. This book is a very good introduction to Bach music. It introduces minuets and some other contrapuntal music, but not too complicated like prelude and fugue, or not even invention. I can make a whole video about Bach, but Bach is really important composer in the pianist world, and anybody who wants to play at an advanced level should know how to play Bach, because it really helps you with thinking in voices and play contrapuntal passages, aka if you have to play multiple melodies in one hand or 3-4 melodies in both hands, Bach will prepare you for that. And not to mention, Bach is the father of all the modern music. And I'm not gonna get into the details about why that is, but believe me for now. If I have time, I'll make a video about Bach. So this book is a very good introduction. Bach music can be very complicated and difficult, but this book has lots of easier pieces like minuets, gavotte, and once the student get the feel of the Baroque music style, then I start introducing into more complicated contrapuntal stuff like invention or even prelude and fugue. So that's one material I can use for any of the students who's at this level. But from there on, you just have to pick the repertoire that's at the right level for the students, because you can really choose from endless choice of the music. But typically, if I had a 1 hour lesson with a student who doesn't have any particular goal in mind, then this is what I would do. I'll pick one piece from Bach, one piece from classical composers, mostly Beethoven and Mozart. Haydn's good too, but I personally don't know a lot about Haydn. I probably played many of them as I learned, but I typically stick with Mozart or Beethoven because that's what I'm good at. Unless the student wants to do Haydn or other classical composers, of course. And then one romantic piece, and an etude. And that's what a lot of competitions and colleges want for the audition as well. So if they want to pursue further and major in music, they can just use that repertoire. One thing you have to remember is that at the intermediate level, unlike the beginner level, you don't have to finish all the books altogether. For example, a lot of my students finish Burgmüller earlier, maybe because there are only 25 of them, maybe because it's a lot more fun to play. They're more motivated. Anyway, typical students finish Burgmüller before Czerny or Sonatina. And then you can introduce Bach, or if you still have time in your lesson, then you can actually start learning more and more nocturne or waltz or those short pieces. If you finish good number of Sonatina, you can start introducing actual sonatas. In fact, the Sonatina album has 2 Beethoven sonatas, 1 Haydn sonata, and 1 Mozart sonata already in it. So you can tell the borderline between advanced level and intermediate level is kind of vague. You see those advanced pieces in intermediate books already. But one thing I highly recommend at this level is to use Henley edition or other urtext editions. But I like Henley edition personally, not because they look cool compared to these. Well, I think this looks really cool. I remember as a student going to my teacher's studio, I was still beginner intermediate level, and I saw lots of older kids having these books, and they looked really legit. But besides the looks of the book, These artist versions are supposed to be close to the original. Artist means original, but nothing's original if it's printed. If you really want to play original handwritten version of the composers, good luck. So as long as you're using printed typed music, you're not using original music. There's some kind of bias by the editor or printer or whoever's involved in it. But Henley edition tries to be as close to the original, so look at the difference here. This is a famous Mozart sonata in Schirmer edition, and this is a Henley edition. Look at all these extra markings. In the beginning, the first measure, Schirmer edition tells you to play left hand legato. Henley edition is just notes. Same for the right hand. Schirmer edition tells you how to play this trill. Henley edition doesn't. Look at this long slur on the scale in the second line. Henley edition just gives you the scales. Left hand is staccato in Schirmer edition, just quarter notes in Henley edition. So as you can tell, Schirmer edition has lots of markings in it. These are there to help the learners decide what to do with the music, and they're just being kind. But for the advanced students, I don't want them to rely on these. As I teach intermediate students, I try to explain why there's a slur there, why you should play this legato, why you should have these crescendo diminuendos. If you watch this video, you already know. Because the scale's going up and down. When the melody goes up, you put a little crescendo. When the melody goes down, you put diminuendo. And those are the decisions you should be making at this level. As an advanced student, you should be thinking about those things and doing it naturally, not because the book said so. So if you're ready to learn these serious sonatas, I want you to make that decision. And if you can't make that decision, I'll be happy to help you in the lesson. We'll discuss and we'll write them in. And that's part of the learning process at this point. So I want as clean sheet music as possible so we can start adding expression together if you haven't been doing that already. So that's one thing that's common among all of my advanced students. They all use Henley edition. Unless you're transfer students and didn't learn these things already, then we might stay with the Schirmer edition a little longer. Now be careful. These repertoire, these books at this level are not categorized by difficulty level. So there are some easy nocturnes, but then there's some really tough nocturnes out there. And they're all in one book. There are rather easy Beethoven sonata and really tough Beethoven sonatas. So that's something you have to really look out for and decide what's appropriate for you, even within the same book. And that's one of the things I have to assess as a teacher for my students. So to summarize, after going through adequate amount of intermediate materials, you are ready to start expanding into more and more advanced level. One thing I suggest is implement Bach in your curriculum so that you can learn how to play contrapuntal stuff. A teacher and a student should have a discussion about their musical goal, and that'll affect your curriculum at this point. If the student falls short in certain area, then the teacher can choose the right repertoire to supplement that. After considering all these elements, what you're gonna do after intermediate materials? It totally depends. That's why I haven't been able to reply to those questions about advanced repertoires, because I had to really see you and see you play and hear you play. I can't just suggest one-size-fits-all solution at this point. That is easy to do if you haven't learned anything if you're starting from scratch. But overall, if you got to this level, congratulations. This is really exciting stage where you can really play some cool music. And as a teacher, it's really fun stage to teach as well because we can actually discuss music and even collaborate as an artist. Alright, I hope this video is helpful. If you learned something, please hit the like button so YouTube will know this is a good video and start spreading to other people. If you're interested in one-on-one session with me for consultation or lesson, you can head to my online studio where you can make an appointment. If you still haven't done so, please hit subscribe and notification button so you won't miss my future videos. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye! Now one last advice. These books are pretty heavy. This is Bach, Beethoven, Chopin, Rachmaninoff. If you're learning 4 pieces, this is what you have to carry around, and this is pretty heavy. So I used to scan and copy and put it in one binder. So instead of carrying all of this to your lesson, this is all you need. And it's totally legal to scan and copy sheet music if it's for yourself and if you already own a book. You start getting into trouble if you give it to other people or even sell it to people who would otherwise have bought that book. But these days, most of my sheet music is in iPad, so all I have to carry around is just this. And everything I need is in here. It's pretty convenient. I have a few videos about it, so please check them out. Bye bye!